Can we beat the rank 1 Grandmaster Sesante with 2002 MMR? Let's find it out. He's on a solo queue, the best player right now, so let's see how we will perform against him. Starting with the draft first, obviously, we are getting here options in mid position, Huntress or Grunts. Sorcerers obviously not so great, so I'm tending here to pick Grunts into Dryads more, because the Sorcerers are just too bad to get picked. Tier 2, we're looking now for magic damage and healing, because we have no magic damage on tier 1, and we will need it most likely if enemy plays no Huntress. Still, the left side looks pretty tempting, but I feel like the magic damage is way too important. The right side also gives us good anti-air with the Gargs. The raid are not so great, but I value the magic damage here so high. And also the code is an easy pick here. Without magic damage, we would have a really hard time simply against footmen, grunts and ghouls. And if the enemy doesn't start with dryads, then the necros can also snowball pretty hard. On tier 3, if you see tanks and worms or chimps, that's always a really strong pick, especially if you have also some scaling like we have with the frenzy. We have good dispels, so we don't really necessarily need the destroyers, so the pick is here for the right side. I'm still thinking a bit about it, but it is correct. So, we have a pretty solid draft, guys. I personally don't like the Dryads so much, because they are so weak if you play into Footman, but they are still like a decent pick. So Sesante is skipping the first wave. This is something you see from a lot of good players. They kind of don't want to show what they have on the first wave. They're giving the enemy like the mid control for free. So I don't like this play at all, but they kind of want to like mind game a bit the opponents and also just like don't give them information basically. I'm starting here with double grunts in the bottom position as usually, just to give me a position advantage. Against the 3 footmen, we will most likely have actually a quite close fight. And we know now that our opponent has started with 1 mine, obviously, and also with just 3 footmen. That means he will most likely go for the hero on wave 2. So this fight in the middle is like pretty close. I'm not sure who is winning this. I'm not often having this matchup actually. My team is also kinda talking a bit much, so I'm just saying to them, chill guys, be calm, we're fine. And we're even winning the middle, guys. So that's a pretty good start for us. We can also add a hero if we want. And footmen are really good actually to play a hero against, because there are so many heroes which are punishing footmen pretty hard. So that's why we're going for the hero here. I'm also checking a bit what my teammates are doing as usually, and now we also will reposition our grunts into the middle most likely, because I'm just playing this bottom style of the grunts on the first wave to give us just a better shot onto the targeting of our opponent, which also worked in this case pretty well, because then we simply targeted the 1 footman of him with our 2 grunts. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Dreadlord. I think the MK is definitely the worst here out of these 3 really good picks. The Panda would also be a solid pick here, but I personally favor the Dreadlord so much because he's giving you not only the Crypt Swarm for massive AoE, also has sustain for your whole army with the Aura, and the Infernal is Giga Broken on 6. So I think Dreadlord is the best hero here. I'm just liking him the most. And I also, being a big tempo player, so I'm also picking the heroes which are also the most tempo. And with tempo I mean that just if you drop the ulti, you will just like kill the whole board and push really hard, and I like this style. We are losing here the first wave to the Pitlord, that's expected. Pitlord has on level 1 the Beetle summons, which are just very strong, hard to beat if you don't have summons on your own. But yeah, that's how it is. We're still in a good spot here, because our hero with the Dreadlord will scale way better than the Pitlord, but he has like the early game advantage. So the other opponents also playing here Dark Ranger on top, so they have like a really early level tempo play style, but our heroes are just scaling better. So we need to get a wave back, we're positioning back again, so that the opponents just dying in the tower before we facing our next wave. And we're adding now Dryads for Dispel, because we need to dispel the Beetle summons to beat the Pitlord. Yeah, I feel like 2 Dryads are fine here, adding on top like more frontline Rook 1s, and then let's see how this will go. I'm also positioning like the Dreadlord a bit in the back, that he's not getting instantly focused, because we don't want him to tank basically, because we obviously want him to get all the experience, survive the first wave, and then even Crypt Swarm the second wave. Yeah, so here the Huntress player is winning slightly. We're going for the Dispel. He also adding Dryads. I actually really like that the Pitlord player is adding here Dryads, because the Dryads are doing really low damage to the Grunts, because they have the pierce damage, and they are basically losing also in a 1v1 fight. He also kind of doesn't need a Dispel at all, because I have nothing he can Dispel. So I'm winning the lane now pretty hard, just because our opponent playing Dryads. So guys, I have a really big advice for you. I really can recommend that you should not build any Dispel unless you see the enemy has something you want to Dispel. If our opponent would here go only for frontline and not the Dryads, then he would probably win the wave. And he kinda outplayed, in my opinion, himself. Because he kinda was preparing for something I'm not even having here. I mean, yes, if I would add like something he needs to Dispel, it would be good. But if I don't have it, then he's just losing for no reason. So I think you should not do this ever. Like, you see how I played here. I kinda saw I need Dispel, so I got it. And then I was strong with the Dryads. Yeah, so we are in a good position on our wave now. But the other waves also mattering. I'm adding here even a bit more Dispel and also a bit more frontline. Like, usually I go like for 4 Dryads. I think that's a really good number, because then you have like also some magic immune units and also enough Dispel overall for the early game. So we are facing now a really big stack. I'm disabling my Karen Swarm here, because I don't want to kill this wave fast. I actually want to kill this wave as slow as I can, because then I can stack with the guy behind me better. If I push out this wave too much, then I would probably not fight in the tower here now, and then we can't stack with our team well. You saw I also did go for the defense upgrade, because I don't want to kill the opponent fast here. I want to be as tanky as possible, because then the chances to stack with our team in the back is just more likely. And I have to stack with the team to be able to push our wave back to get mid control. So that's the goal. And that's really important to understand, because if you understand this, then you also will have an easier time to get the early game back, to get more mid control and snowball out of this your opponents. So the game is pretty close here. The Panda is roasting pretty hard here, and he has no amulet. So I'm now saying to my Panda player that he please gets an amulet, because you can't allow the Dark Ranger to suck on your hero. This is most likely game losing. It's fine here, he got the wave, but he should definitely add an amulet. That's really important. Yeah, so we're having now the middle back, looks quite fine, and our wave is really just strong. We have like just also a good draft onto our opponent, cause the Grunts beating his footman, our hero is stronger, and also we have Dispel against him, and he has useless Dryads. Like, the Dryads are not 100% useless, because yeah, they don't get hit from the Karen Swarm, but the downside of being so weak on the Dryads is still like really bad for him. So he's now adding Headhunters and also more frontline. So I know that I also need now to add more frontline even, or go tier 2. We are still winning here pretty nicely. Like, the Headhunters are also like a pretty weird choice in my opinion. Why? Because I have the Dreadlord, and the Karen Swarm is good against all tier 1 and tier 2 units, because the AoE is so crazy. So I would rather, if I would be the Pitlord player, I would rather add more, like I would simply add the units which having the highest HP. Because if you add like something like backline, they will die just faster. And again guys, we are having Grunts, they're having heavy armor. And heavy armor is not taking additional damage from peers, which are Headhunter and Dryads. So my opponent should definitely just spam Footman. Because Footman having normal damage, that's good against Grunts. I think he would still lose the lane, but would be still killing more from our lane, basically. So, if you see Dryad, Dreadlord, and Grunt against you, then you should just spam Footman, 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 or probably tech to tier 2 to get like some magic damage out, or also get some healing out. Yeah, so our opponent is kinda not playing... I mean, I don't know what his draft is, but what I can see what he's playing, it's not optimal. Like, he has like only 6 or 7 Footmen. That's really not much. Like, I have like 8 or 9 Grunts. And Grunts costing like 60 gold more. So I have basically like 40% more frontline. And the frontline is the most important in this early game fight. So he's now tier 2, adding priests, that's decent. Priests are still not really what he wants, because they are not that great, like in the early to mid game. The Kodo, by the way, is pretty useless, because again, the Kodo has also pierce damage, and pierce damage is really not good against us. He would need magic damage, but it looks like he has simply no magic damage on tier 1 and tier 2, which makes him really weak to our Grunts. So our lane is pretty easily won, basically. The Panda player is also roasting now really hard his opponent, because Panda with the Fire Breath is also just very strong. Dark Ranger can now not suck on the Panda anymore, so here also no value. And the tower is also getting threatened on minute 11, which is also quite early. Really nice, having really big momentum here and being in a very good spot against our opponents. So yeah, I mean, that's why I have to say, guys, you really just have to... You need magic damage on tier 1 or tier 2. If you don't have it, then you might just get roasted here, as you see. Like, this is simply a big draft difference. So, I'm telling my team I'm going tier 2 here, just that they know what's going on, that they also can adjust their place, because they should never tech in the same wave as your teammates are doing, because elsewise you lose way too much tempo. But we are like in a really good spot here. Like, we are now just adding more our units, getting our tech up, having the extra mine, also over leveling now quite hard actually on the heroes. And as I said, guys, my hero is also scaling really well. So if we are first level 6 before our opponents, yeah, then we have like on top a massive advantage. We're obviously going for instant Grunt upgrade, because this gives you us free damage, which is really important, and also some HP. And now we're a bit too far in front. You saw we got attacked from the fortress. I'm checking therefore the position of my teammates, and I don't want to fight in the fortress now, because I have no damage at this stage of the game to really deal serious damage to it. And if we are staying in front and fighting in the fortress, then the opponent is way more likely to stack. And if they're stacking, they might come back, and we don't want this. So that's why we're just positioning this in the back. I'm also getting the Dreadlord a bit in the front line, because he's now level 4, he's now getting quite tanky, so we don't need to be afraid that he's dying so fast, and he needs to also contribute in the fight. So now we're adding on tier 2 Kodo, because Kodo is the best we can build here, and then we're also adding some more Necros. In this game I would honestly ideally love to rush tier 3, but this would lose me too much tempo. I don't think the Necros are really that great at the moment, but I also don't want to bank up money, because I don't want to lose the tempo. I want to keep the push going and want to pressure the opponents. So the Necros are just like decent here. Like the magic damage, as I said, is quite good, but the summons probably won't do that much. It's still fine to add the Necros here, because they're also giving us Frenzy for later. At the moment, I think Frenzy... Yeah, we can also go Frenzy like quite fast here, but we also don't really need Frenzy at the moment, because we're winning the wave anyways. And you see this Karen Swarm, it's like damaging like half the army to half HP. And that's pretty good, huh? Yeah, like this Karen Swarm is kind of insane. So, and now I also get sucked, so also I need now next Amulet, because I'm facing now the Dark Ranger lane, and I obviously don't want to get sucked on my hero. Because if the Dark Ranger goes also level 2 on the Drain, then this can get really fast, really ugly. And I really don't want the opponent to give any chance to come back. So we are also pretty rich at the moment. We are definitely having more economy than our opponents. So why should we give the opponents like any chance to come back? Like, we might not really need the amulet on the Dreadlord, but it's for sure safer. And I'm rather being safe than sorry, because like the one opportunity our opponent are having on probably comeback is to stack with Dark Ranger. So we're just playing it super safe. Yeah, I'm also spreading out a bit my grunts here, cause we are simply want also to swarm the opponents now more, and also the opponents are more likely to get in the mid to late game also some more AoE damage, like Worms or Destroyer or Chimps, and I don't want my grunts to get splashed so hard. So my opponent is indeed tier 3, adding frontline with the siege tanks, but we are really far ahead, and I'm also now having the frenzy to get more damage on top in. As you see, I'm also kind of toggling my abilities really hard, because I actually also... the thing is, I don't want to use all my mana on frenzy. I just want to get like some of my army frenzied, ideally my Dreadlord, and then I want actually to save the rest of the mana for the Skellies. Because the Necro's big strength is that you can add during the push more and more units. Yes, my opponent has also Dryads, but then I can kind of suck the Dryads dry from the mana. And especially if you also want to fight in the fortress, it's really important to create more skeletons, because then your push is getting way stronger, because there are more units created on the field. Yeah. So I'm adding now 2 mortars, because I see the siege tanks, and against siege tanks, they are fortified armor, so you want to have siege damage against it, which the mortars are. So we're just countering with the mortars the siege tanks. Yeah. And then I'm also adding again a bit more dispel. I'm checking also how much dryads I have here. Like for the mid game, I really like to have like 6 dryads, unless your opponent plays like really Muscaster. I feel like I need a bit more dispel. Yeah, so I'm adding here up to 6 dryads. So then we are again. So I'm also, if you play frenzy, you can't have it always online, because if you are frenzying too early while pushing, then basically your whole army gets drained a lot on the HP, which is not so great. So I'm kind of toggling really a lot to just make the most efficient use out of my best abilities. I'm also toggling the Karen Swarm a bit, because I actually want to also save the mana just to put it out on the best spots. So I'm also getting here the Infernal out. I just want to cast the Infernal as soon as possible to just also deal as much damage to this wave as we can, so that we can stack probably and also just yeah, start to damaging the fortress. Because now we're having also the mortar teams, which are also doing good damage against the fortress, and that's why we can now start actually on tier 3 to damage the fortress. I'm also telling again my team I'm going tier 3 now, that they also can adjust their plays, that they also not taking in the same turn as I do, so that we can keep the momentum and try to end the game as fast as possible. So my tier 3 will give me also like some upgrades with the drums and the Necro upgrade for the Skellies, and also the tanks and the chimps giving us more frontline, which we actually don't need at the moment, but the chimps are really good, like against all the units on the ground obviously, and also giving us additional damage against the fortress. I think it's also worth it to get like the upgrade for the mortars, because we're playing 2 and will probably also add more if our opponent adds more siege tanks. And we're just going here for the upgrades, because the extra summons of this Necros are also giving us more Skellies, means more push, and that is what we want. So I'm also toggling my Infernal off, because at this wave we can't make good use of the Infernal. We're winning this wave anyways really hard, so I rather want to damage and also stun the next wave where a way bigger army is in there. So our opponent is also now adding chimps. So we have 6 Dryads, which are good against the chimps, obviously, because they can't get targeted, because they are spell immune against their magic damage, but they kinda fucking up our mortars and necros pretty hard. But as you see, the Dryads leaving kinda untouched. So we're having here like a small stack now, not really, but nearly a small stack with some of the Dryads now, and we need now to counter the chimps, because they wrecked us quite hard. So, what do we want to add then, guys? So I'm selling even here a bit of grunts, because I need just more space in the front line. And the grunts also falling off now at this stage of the game more and more. So I'm deciding here to add actually some siege tanks, because we're getting a bit more tanky. And on the last wave I saw that we are actually nearly stacked with the guy behind us. And if we are more tanky, then we are more likely to stack. And I'm also going for the anti-air upgrade here, because then the tanks can also do damage to the chimps, which is not the greatest counter to them, but still more damage is fine. So that's the reason behind the siege tanks here. So our opponent now bounced back to us. That's kind of scary, because they have a Dark Ranger, they have also a Shadow Hunter, I think, not sure. No. And if they stack again with this push, this can be really fast, really ugly. So it's really important also that I'm kind of stopping this push now. And I can do this quite nicely here, because my Dreadlord with level 7 is way stronger against the Pitlord level 5. And now we can stack. Now we have also the Aura stack here on our Dreadlord for the Panda, for example. And that's pretty nice. The orange player on the bottom has also Bloodlust. So now he's Bloodlusting my mortars, which are stacking. The siege units are also always very likely to stack, because they are having the highest range and staying the most far in the back. And Bloodlusted mortars are really not a joke. They're doing like some serious damage. So that's really important and pretty good also here. So, we also should consider adding actually another hero. But at the moment, we kinda need to counter the chimps a bit more. So we kinda can't add the hero. If we would not need... Wait, I'm adding the hero. What am I saying, guys? I'm actually just doing it, because the second hero is also pretty important. Shadow Hunter, by far better than Blood Mage or Beastmaster here, because the healing wave makes us even stack more, because we're surviving longer, and the ultimate is also just a game winner. Yeah, so, sorry guys. I'm actually just adding the hero, because we are pushing now back, then that means we are quite strong, and we didn't face the chimp player, because now we are facing again the Pitlord, so we also don't need more anti-air counter at the moment. Yeah, so, and one big mistake a lot of people are doing is also that they're just not adding second hero or too late. Like, if you are strong against your opponent, you actually want to ideally add the second hero once your first hero is level 6. Because then you can also with the push level up your second hero really easily, because then you kill all the opponent's units, and then you can even get level 3, 5 and 6 on second hero really fast, which is an insane tempo spike again. Your opponent is less likely to add a second hero, because they want to push back, so that means that your advantage is just getting bigger and bigger, and you can really safely secure the win. So, Orange also has a second hero, Lich also pretty good. And our opponents are, I think, having not a second hero, it's kind of hard to see here. No, actually he has also added a second hero, I think, yeah. So also if you're on the defending side, you actually have to add a second hero once your first is level 6 or 7. Because elsewise, you will never win. Like if you're just defending and never building a second hero while your opponent is doing it, then you will lose, because you can't beat 2 level 6 heroes. It's impossible. So I'm giving also my Shadow Hunter now a pendant for more mana, because the Shadow Hunter is only useful if he is casting a healing wave. And yes, and he's stacking a lot. So that means he needs more mana to cast more reliable. And that's why the pendant. So, we also need always to check which waves we're actually facing, because if you're pushing a lot and winning a lot, the waves, then the waves might get shuffled a lot, so you kind of have to see also if you need to adjust your composition. We're now stacking here with double heroes, with a Farseer, really good. We're facing now again the Chim player, and we're having not so good anti-air. We're having the siege tanks, which are doing some damage to air, but they can't really snipe the Chims. We have also the Dryads in the backline, and also some ranged heroes now, so it's enough, because we have a big stack. Yeah, but if we would have not enough to kill these Chims, we would need to add like probably some more Gargs, or Gargs overall, just to snipe them faster. So my Shadow Hunter got now killed from the drain of the Dark Ranger, so I should probably also give my Shadow Hunter just an amulet to also make him more sustainable, because this Shadow Hunter would never die if he would have an amulet, and then he would be level 3 and would now cast level 2 healing waves. And this would be like, this is a big difference again. Like having the Shadow Hunter casting level 2 healing waves or not in a push is like a massive difference. And that's why I'm giving also here now amulet to my Shadow Hunter, just to be safe and also to get more mana on top, because I think it's better than Zombie Mask at this point. Yeah. And like this, we can close out the game pretty nicely, winning here against rank 1 solo queue 2200 MMR. Subscribe if you want to climb faster in Direct Strike. Thanks guys.